But who knows, maybe there is a possibility that somehow, and I mean somehow, the Mavericks could actually... I think we need to talk about the real possibility of the Dallas Mavericks not even making the play-in. I thought for sure the biggest disappointment of the year was more than likely going to be the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, I just made a video about them, and I did state in the video at one point they were like the 13th or 14th seed, but now it seems like the Lakers are no longer in that situation as they are fighting for a playoff spot. In fact, the play-in, it seems like something that is just inevitable at this point. But we're not here to talk about the Lakers, we're here to talk about the biggest disappointment of the year, and it has to be the Dallas Mavericks. I'm not going to tell you that last year just because the Mavericks made the Western Conference Finals, I thought this was going to turn over a new leaf for them, but I did expect them to be contenders, especially because they got Kyrie Irving. Of course, I am going to say that this trade definitely had its flaws, and the Mavericks didn't necessarily do it for just the team. And that might sound really confusing, but I want to go in more in depth about this. Now, don't get me wrong, Kyrie Irving is a great player, and I'm not going to try to dispute that. I mean, I remember when the Suns were in talks of possibly getting Kyrie Irving, I was kind of hyped up. Of course, there's a possibility of having off-the-court issues because Kyrie is very much known for that, but so far, I really haven't seen any problems besides the ones with the team. So at this point, I think Dallas is getting the best version of Kyrie Irving they could have possibly gotten. But of course, if you're going to get a great player like Kyrie Irving, you're going to have to give up a pretty good package, and what Dallas gave up is something I did not like. Getting rid of Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith were two very big blows for the Dallas Mavericks. And if you ask me, getting rid of a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith was one of the biggest blows the Mavericks could have had. And I get it, getting Kyrie Irving is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but still, you gave away all your defense. I mean, there is a reason the Dallas Mavericks are a bottom 20 team when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. Positive about getting Kyrie Irving is that you're going to get a great player who's good on the offensive side, however, your defense is going to take a hit. And I feel like that's something that the Mavericks really did not consider when they got Kyrie Irving. Like, yeah, you got a great player, but what happened to defense? I feel like I have to keep saying this because this is very important. When we look at championship level teams like the Bucks and the Celtics, they not only thrive on the offensive side, but they're also good on the defensive side. And the Mavericks, while they're good on offense, they're not good on defense. Now look, did I think the Mavericks were going to win the whole thing? No, but I thought they could be contenders if they did everything right. I saw flaws in their system, but I knew if you had players like Luka and Kyrie, you can try to overcome that. And not only are the Mavericks not contenders, not only are they not technically in the playoffs, they're not in the play-in, and there is a real possibility they miss it. We have less than 5 games of the NBA season, and the playoff race is starting to heat up. Teams are already starting to clinch, and the Mavericks, they haven't done that yet. At the time of recording this video, the Dallas Mavericks are 11th in the Western Conference, and they're about a game away from the OKC Thunder. And first of all, if you ask me, if they were to play, I would take the Thunder easily. I think the Thunder are by far a better team right now. But second, the gap is starting to close for the Dallas Mavericks. In the past 13 games, the Mavericks are 3-10, and no, I did not make that stat up. The Dallas Mavericks with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic are 13-10. In a time where if they could have won a couple more games, they'd be guaranteed in the playoff picture, they are now at chance of missing the play-in. I'm going to kind of stray away from Kyrie for a sec and talk about Luka. Having Luka Doncic as your superstar player is not going to win you an NBA title. You are going to win some games, and you will more than likely make the playoffs, well, a majority of the time. But you cannot win an NBA title with the system that the Mavericks are playing. Before Kyrie Irving came to the Mavericks had a system where it was Luka score as many points as you can. And while Luka Doncic is a great player, I'm not trying to take that away from him. It's just not sustainable if you want to win an NBA title. For example, let's look at last year when he played the Golden State Warriors, an actual championship winning team. That shit did not work, and it was obvious the Warriors were going to destroy the Mavericks in that series. And I'm gonna be honest, and some people might call me biased, I go back to the Suns series last year, and if they weren't shooting as well as they were, they don't win that series. Now granted, Dallas did deserve to win that series. They played better than Phoenix, and quite frankly, they looked like the better team. But the way the Mavericks were shooting in that series is something that we had never seen from them. Now let's fast forward to this year. I've seen pretty recently that the firing of Jason Kidd is being talked about throughout Mavericks fans, and I completely agree. For one, I don't like Jason Kidd for obvious reasons, but I think as a coach, he's not that good if I'm just being real. I think he could be a decent assistant coach and maybe a player's coach, but nah, he's not that good as a head coach. And I know someone in the comment section is gonna say, oh, well, what about the development of Giannis? Jason Kidd was very important in that, and you're completely right. However, I think he could do that better as an assistant coach, because that Milwaukee team team that Jason Kidd coached was not good at all. Just like this Mavericks team, they're not good at all. I think the Mavericks have potential to be a great team, but a couple things need to change, which that could be a whole other conversation in itself, but I think Jason Kidd is the start of the problem. Now let's play the hypothetical of the Dallas Mavericks make the playoffs. Well, what's gonna happen? Honestly, I don't see anything good happening. For one, I don't think they win in the play-in, and even if they squeak by in the playoffs, they're not gonna go past the first round. I think the Mavericks just have too many issues that cannot be fixed, especially because they're starting to just blow up at the wrong time. So I've talked about defense being an issue, but I feel like there's more to the story, because while we have a team like the Sacramento Kings who are really good at offense, but they're not the best on defense, they're still the 3rd seed in the Western Conference, and in my opinion, I still believe they're actual contenders despite what other people think. I think the difference between the two teams is actually quite simple. The Dallas Mavericks do not have any depth. I think it is so easy to say that Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic are a better duo than De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, but the Kings have better depth and it's not even close. The Mavericks have some decent guys in the rotation, but it's nothing impressive. I'm gonna go back to Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie. Getting rid of those guys was not the right move, especially because Kyrie Irving might not even play for this team next year. Kyrie Irving is about to be an unrestricted free agent, and I don't know if he's going to stay with this team. If they would have been contenders in the West and they'd be fighting for an NBA title, maybe, but that's not the case, and it's not even close to what's actually going on. Now, I'm not exactly sure where Kyrie would go because the Lakers have already ruled that possibility out, but that's another video for another time. I also do want to say that I'm not necessarily blaming just Kyrie Irving. It's not Kyrie Irving's fault. He's actually playing pretty well this year. I think the Mavericks as a whole, they're just not constructed to do anything well, because I'll always go back to this, but you cannot throw two superstar players together and expect them to win. And fine, maybe Kyrie Irving's not a superstar in your eyes, but you know what I'm trying to say. As fun as this Mavericks team could have been, they had no actual chance to do anything. And now we're all seeing this disaster unfold. The Mavericks are more than likely not going to make the play-in. There's a chance they lose Kyrie Irving, but there's also the possibility in the future that they lose Luka Doncic. So if you couldn't tell, this was a very important season for the Mavericks, because the reason why the Mavericks got Kyrie Irving was to make Luka happy, but they did the complete opposite, and I think they only just made the process of Luka leaving a lot faster than it was before. I really do believe the duo of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving could actually work out. I do think though they need to work on their wing depth, maybe get some guys in free agency or make trades, whatever you have to do. Also, find out what the hell is going on with Christian Wood. I feel like they're not using Christian Wood in the right way, and it is very confusing what they're trying to do. When I found out the Mavericks got Christian Wood in free agency, I thought they were a way better team, but they have not utilized this man the right way, and it's showing. I don't know if the Mavericks are trying to do some 3 million IQ play, but it's clearly not working. Regardless, I'm interested to see how the rest of the Mavericks season goes. Me personally, I don't really see much changing. I see the Mavericks still continuing to fail as they've done this season, but who knows, maybe there is a possibility that somehow, and I mean somehow, the Mavericks could actually make the playoffs. I know it is such a crazy standard for this team to do, but yeah, I don't know if it's gonna happen. I mean, we've got only a week until the play-in starts, so the Mavericks, their time is running out, and quite frankly, it's not looking good for them.
You kidding, yes, fuck that bitch till the day I die. 220 on the dash, I got bloody red eyes. I got the pay coming in, finna give me tryna link, I ain't really got no time. Give a fuck about a hater, y'all can suck me dry. And your bitch can too, yeah, I know she gon' ride. Fuck me good, she got her a